What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon. I don't got a whole lot to talk about on my end. I do want to talk about something real fast, but also, of course, just to let you know, I have a press conference from Adam Gase for you that he did today, talking about the team, and various other things, of course, as well. And also there was a interview after the game yesterday from Drake that I just found, that just got posted on YouTube or whatever. I was able to get that for you, so yeah, I have that. Now, as far as what I wanted to talk about, so actually it was really interesting because Gase was asked in his press conference today, how difficult is it to call games, make game plans, so on and so forth, when your team is seemingly changing every single week, right? Bryce Butler's only been here for a couple weeks, and you have to pull receivers and stuff off the practice squad, and your offensive line is just in the interior, in the middle of the offensive line just keeps changing and changing and changing and changing, right? Which, if you've noticed, I actually last night rewatched the Bills game again already. So all of the problems we were having were in the middle of the offensive line yesterday. Aside from Juwan James had one holding call. But besides that, all of the rest of the false starts and holdings from the line came from in the middle. It was, all the sacks and pressures came from the middle. So obviously we need to do something about that. But anyway, point is, he was asked about it, and essentially he said, it's really hard, it's difficult. So here's the thing, I also watch some of the other Dolphins YouTubers and stuff. I watch Doug Lee Do Wrong the most. I like him the most. Him and TD are cool. K-Flex, and I'm not a huge fan of, I'll be honest. He does his thing. I got respect for him. He does his thing. I'm not personally a huge fan of his excessively boisterousness, but anyway, point is, though, not trying to trash talk anybody here, except for the haters of Gase. Anyway, but my point was, though, is even Doug Lee Do Wrong is jumping on that wagon now of we need to fire Matt Burke and we need to blah blah blah. The only thing I would agree with maybe is that Gase needs to give up play calling, and only from the standpoint of he's got a ton of shit to deal with as head coach. Now, it's his prerogative. I really don't care. I think for the most part, he calls good games. Okay? Does he make mistakes? Yeah. Who doesn't? Right? Does he call bad plays occasionally? Sure, of course. Who doesn't? You're not going to get 100% of your plays right. And again, so going back to that question that he was asked in his press conference, how difficult it is. Is it? It is difficult. It is difficult when you don't know the personnel as well, when your offensive line is constantly changing, the guys on the line have to learn how to work together. And unfortunately, the guys that we have in the center right now, particularly at left guard and center, Travis Swanson's not too bad, but he wasn't in last game, right? He didn't play last game, are just not very good. And hopefully Swanson comes back for this Patriots game. That'll make things better. That'll help Jesse Davis out. He did struggle. He did have, some bad moments yesterday, but it is harder when, the guy on your left is always changing and, blah, blah, and when they're not doing very good. So there's a lot that goes into it. And overall, here's my thing. Look, I do these shows, I do these videos. I obviously give my opinion and stuff like that. That's the point of it. Is we're supposed to be here to do evaluations and give you guys our opinions and stuff. But at the end of the day, what we have to remember as Dolphins fans, and what I try my best to do and always remember, is that it's my opinion. And guess what? I don't work there. I'm not even an intern in the office buildings of the Miami Dolphins organization. Okay, so I don't have any kind of credentials. I don't have any kind of credibility to be able to say, you know what, the things that I think should happen, point blank, bottom line, period, and that's going to be the absolute 100% best thing ever, and if they just do that, they will just win absolutely every single one of their games. They will be perfect forever and for always. That's crazy. That's absolute craziness. So I try my best not to take the approach of seeming as if I know more than the people who are doing it, right? So taking that into consideration, I try not to be so overly judgmental. And I mean, don't get me wrong. If you've watched my videos, I'll say when Gase makes bad calls. In fact, that wildcat play on the 3rd and 1, I thought was a terrible call. They had like 9 dudes in the box ready to stop it. It was a terrible call. You know, I believe that. I absolutely believe that, and I'll say it. Okay, I'm fair. I point those things out, but I do not believe. Here's one thing that I will say. I mean, it is obviously my opinion, but I stand firm to this, that the heat that like Tannehill gets, that Gase and this coaching staff has gotten this year is just, I'm not going to say it's ill-founded because I understand where the frustrations come from, but people are allowing their emotions to get too charged, and then it's running away with them. And then they start, you know, getting all inflamed emotionally, right? And just start lashing out. And they don't, you know, people don't allow logic and reason to play a part in this. And when you do that, you know, when people do that, they tend to focus on just the bad things, right? And they don't have the entire equation together. Meaning, you know, they don't take all the factors into account. And when you don't take all those factors into account, you know, it becomes chaotic and crazy, and it doesn't actually do anything. Nothing gets fixed, you know, it's just a big old mess, right? And then it's just a cycle. It's just a cycle. So for me, you know, look, like I said, if they do something wrong, you know, when Tannehill's done stuff wrong, I put it on him. I've said tons of times that, you know, there were moments where he should have thrown the ball away but instead took a sack. There are times when it's not his fault, and there are other things at play that caused that, right? Like, for example, those two turnovers that essentially cost us the game because they were, you know, pick sixes in the Bengals game. First and foremost, that was predominantly on the offensive line, because our entire interior offensive line was already, you know, in shambles, and then Tunsil comes out, so they don't have their you know, Pro Bowl talent left tackle that hasn't let up a sack the entire season. He was out, and so he was getting tremendous pressure. He did what he thought was the best thing to do in literally you know, 100th of a second of time. He doesn't have but, you know, that much time to make that choice. And, you know, the one he throws to the tight end, you know, just trying to get a, you know, an incompletion, and unluckily enough, the way it all played out, it bounces off of his guy's helmet, the tight end's helmet, into the hands of the defender, and he was clear for the touchdown. I mean, I find it ridiculous how people put things on people's shoulders that they don't have any control over, right? Like, I mean, seriously, I just got to ask you this, and I know how this is because I've experienced this a lot in my life. If you were, let's say, for example, and, you know, I understand that some people have a more difficult time with this than others, meaning putting yourself in other people's shoes, but imagine you were in a position where, you know, essentially, let's say, wrong place, wrong time. Let's say you were in a situation, somebody does something wrong, and then you get blamed for it. I mean, come on. Like, that's why I say, you know, we have to give honest and fair evaluations. We have to be able to say, okay, this this factor and this factor and this factor all came together that made this result, right? So that's why, like, it doesn't make sense to me, because when people focus on just one point in the entire equation, if that was the only part of the equation, then you'd have a different result, because that logically just eliminates the other factors that were actually present. You're like deluding yourself into thinking that, you know, it was just this one thing, That's why, like, when reporters ask, you know, the coaches, you know, well, what happened to the defense? Well, guys, I can't give you just one answer. On this play, it was this guy. On this play, it was miscommunication. On this play, it was this, right? There's always so many factors. So people need to calm down and stop just like, that's why I am not going to, even if somehow, some way, by some miraculous shit streak of luck, you know, we go like 0-16 next year. That's not going to happen, by the way. But even if it did, I am not going to say that this coaching staff needs to, or really anybody on it needs to be fired until they get 2 more years. So they need the 2019 season and they need the 2020 season to have 5 years. In my opinion, the coaching staff needs 5 years. Now, if Gase wants to fire coaches, that's on him. It's his coaching staff. I don't think the front office, I don't think anybody in the front office needs to be fired by Stephen Ross, and I don't think, or Gase needs to be fired by Stephen Ross. And, you know, like I said, if Gase wants to make changes to his coaching staff, that's all on him. But I think this front office and the main part of the coaching staff, which is the head coach, you know, needs to stay in place for 5 years so they can have time to bring in the people that they want, you know, and show things. I mean, look, we went 10-6 and made it to the playoffs in the first season. Last year we had literally a whirlwind of all kinds of crazy, uncontrollable things happen that caused us to go 6-10. We still managed 6 games. People didn't even think, the odds bettors and stuff didn't even think we were going to win, you know, we were going to win maybe 5 games. We got 6 on our belts so far with, you know, a few winnable games at least. So we'll probably, you know, reasonably break what the odds makers said we were going to win this season. We still can't even make the playoffs if we do enough right over the next 4 games, right? So I mean, it's absolutely insane to me how people get so, like, you know, push the red, you know, blow everything up button right now. In 2 years, if this coaching staff and everybody still seems incompetent, then guess what? I'm gonna go and wipe the entire organization. Right? I've even been hearing people talk about, oh, well, you know what, maybe we should keep Gase, but we should get rid of Tannenbaum, and maybe keep Greer, but no, get rid of Greer, and oh, but Burke needs to go, and hold on, but wait, like, come on, dude, haven't we learned as Dolphins fans already with the previous regimes that you can't just mix and match like that? You gotta, look, give this coaching staff and this front office 2 more years, and then do the whole remake all at once. It's a rebuild, not fuck partial rebuilds. Fuck that. It's stupid. If you're gonna hit the fucking reset button, hit the reset button. There's no half reset. That's stupid. In my mind, that's completely stupid. So that's why, for me, I am not going to jump on any kind of... Now, if you want to talk about individual players, you know, should they go? You know, I think we need to upgrade from, like, Andre Branches, right? Of the Andre Branches, right? Devontae Parker, for me, I'm still on the fence with him. Personally, at this year, I would keep him for next year and wait and see how things go with that. I'm not ready at all to get rid of Tannehill, right? But we can talk about individual players a little bit here and there, and I'll give you my honest opinion on that. But this coaching staff needs the next 2 years, point blank, bottom line, period, in my mind. And it just annoys me how people get so, like, irritated and then just let their feelings and emotions get super carried away, and then they just go off on these, like, emotional tangents that don't solve anything, wouldn't solve anything, and are just kind of like illogical and don't take all of the factors into account and all that stuff. So anyway, I'm done with my rant. This video actually went longer than I was going to make it because of the rant, but I did have something I wanted to say clearly. So my point is, guys, for anyone who does watch my show, let's stay positive and let's support our team. And I know, I understand how hard and difficult and frustrating it is, but let's give them 2 years. For anybody who watches my show, let's get off. If you're on it, get off the bandwagon. And if you're not on it, stay off it for 2 years, as hard as it might be. And then, if it's still not working, the full reset button. Greer, Tannenbaum, Gase, everybody. Clear house, right? Clear house. But only in 2 years, once this coaching staff has had a requisite ample amount of time to get things how they want it and get past 1 year of everything you could possibly think of and still win 6 games, and a year where we're just absolutely decimated by injuries. And at this point, we're still 500 with 6 games won, and a good possibility to win a few more. So pump the brakes on that, guys. Let's stay positive. Let's back our team. Let's keep with it. Let's not get too crazy, and let's wait and see how things play out, right? Because on the flip side, if in the I know I said I was gonna wrap this up, but on the flip side, if in 2 years, right? Or let's say miraculously, because everybody thinks it would just be this most tremendous miracle, and I agree to some point. It's certainly going to be difficult, but let's say we win out, right? We go 10-6 again this season, and we make it to the playoffs. Maybe we'll lose in the first round, whatever. Maybe we'll win, whatever, right? And next year we do well, right? We get all these guys healthy. We get another good draft under our belts. We fortify our lines, our offensive and defensive lines, right? And we do a lot better next year, and then the next year, and then we start making the playoffs every year, and so on and so forth. And eventually we dethrone the Patriots, and we become, blah, 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 right? If everything goes great, then everybody's going to forget about the 6-10 season and all of the struggles that we had this year. We're going to forget about it, and we're all going to be happy. And guess what? Worst case scenario, the way that I'm presenting it, in 2 years from now, you completely hit the reset button and try all over again. I don't understand what's so bad with that. I think this coaching staff has the potential to be super great, and to not allow them ample time to realize their potential just seems silly, illogical, stupid, frankly, and a waste. So that's how I feel about it. With that, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and send you off to these interviews. Trying to keep this video down in length. I know I'm not all that great at that, when I go off on my tangents. I hope you guys like it, though. I hope you guys like what I have to say. At least a few people do, because I know you guys watch it. So I appreciate that. But if you do like it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Make sure you hit the like button. I always appreciate that. And leave your questions, your comments, your concerns, everything. Leave that down in the comments section. You can also, send it to me on Twitter. Follow me at Twitter, at Dillon Tartaro. All that stuff. Interact with me, guys, because I really enjoy it. So, yeah. Again, stay positive, stay up, and let's go get this upset victory this Sunday at home versus the Patriots. That's the most immediate thing. All right, guys, I am out of here. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.
You guys would expect to win, but how much does actually pulling it off, what could a win like this do moving forward for you guys?
This is the next game, so now we're going to, take this in, digest the good and the bad come tomorrow, and then move on.
3 different guys got into the end zone. Considering all the injuries you guys have had, that's a great sign that things are starting to balance out, figure things out as we're moving forward here.
You know, it's always, we've had a lot of injuries this year. It's always, appreciate it. It's always about the next man up. You know, Tanny did a good job distributing the ball to a lot of the playmakers that we have left. You know, taking the heat off our defense in that situation. So, you know, that's all it is about is, you know, putting the ball in the end zone and having more points at the end of the game.
For you guys to be able to take the lead back and then to pull that game out defensively, how can you guys build off this win for the rest of the year?
Like I said, it's the next one. Like I said, we're gonna look at what we can get better with, correct the mistakes that we made, and move on.
Kenyon, you guys didn't put up a lot of yards, but you were 3 for 3 in the red zone. How do you overall evaluate the offense?
That's the most important thing, I feel like, is efficiency. You get in the red zone, you got to put points on the board. You know, respectively, you want it to be touchdowns. So I feel like we were able to do that today, and it helped us get the garbage in the game.
Kenyon, the last play in the end zone that they dropped, just where's your vantage point? What did you see and your thoughts on that play played out?
I mean, Josh Allen is I feel like he's going to be one hell of a quarterback in this division for a long time. He's not sneaky athletic, he's just athletic, so he makes plays with his feet. You know, I feel like the next time we play him, which will be in a couple weeks, you know, they'll make adjustments for us, we'll make adjustments for them. You know, I held my breath in that situation, but, you know, at the end of the day, we won, so that's all I care about.
Possession of games has not been kind to you for quite a long time, and now you've gone a couple of games in a row where you've been able to get things going. Did you change up anything other than the results?
No, nothing's different. It's just, I mean, we executed those plays. It's hard to explain.
You got your scripts?
Huh?
Do you use scripts?
I don't know, maybe not.
Did you script yesterday?
I don't remember.
Overall, scoring first, you guys are, I believe, 7-2, 7-3 when you do score first under you. Just having a first play, being up early, what does that do for the rest of your team?
I think anytime that you can get a lead, it helps the defense a little bit. If you could ever get a big lead, that really, it's ideal, because then, you know, the other team becomes one-dimensional. But all these games are going to be close from here on out. We just got to do a good job of playing complementary football. We can't turn the ball over. We need to get points when our defense gets turnovers, which we haven't done lately. And, you know, have a player or two that are impactful on special teams.
Adam, what's the struggles that Jesse had in the first half? Was that uncharacteristic of how he's played at guard this year?
I think it's you know, he had some tough matchups yesterday. You know, like Kyle is, you know, when you got a veteran player like that, and if he sees any kind of weakness, he'll expose it quickly, and you better figure it out and make some adjustments in game, because he'll expose you as fast as possible, and he'll use everything he knows to his advantage, and that's what makes him as difficult of a player to go against as there is.
Anything for us in Armstrong? I know that was the game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how this week goes. It doesn't sound like it's going to be something that's going to be a long-term thing.
You've now been outgained by 1,168 yards.
Great.
Including 240 yesterday. How has this team won 6 games?
Turnover margin. You know, the amount of turnovers our defense is getting is what we need, you know, and then we don't turn it over a whole bunch. You know, I think the guys have done a good job ball security-wise, making sure we don't have fumbles. And, you know, the quarterbacks have both, for the most part, done their part. You know, yesterday, I mean, I can live with that because we took a shot, and I'd like to see either Kenny break it up or maybe just put it out a little further. You know, I don't know. There's nobody really to blame on that. It's just you wish the result would have been different.
Everybody talks about how turnover margin is important. Are we maybe even underrated? It just seems like it's a monumental thing for going for.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. You just look at records just off of that. It's insane, probably with us. There's other teams that are even, I I think New England's probably, I mean, that's crazy, their plus minus, you know. But I mean, just the wins that they get when they end up winning the turnover margin, they're not going to lose a whole bunch.
What did you think about how your offense played yesterday?
I feel like we had some good, but the penalties that we had, it's just wrong timing for us. You know, I think we overcame a couple things that were critical. It was the right time. You know, we missed an opportunity there in the 4-minute situation to get a first down to try to keep our defense off the field. Made it probably a little more exciting than what we needed to. But we just got to keep correcting our mistakes and figure out a way to execute at a higher level.
I think it seems like you used the Wildcat more yesterday than we've seen. Why is that? Why have you?
I mean, it just whatever those situations we were in. You know, just wanted to. I mean, we had a couple plays that we really liked, and that's just how the game plan was. I mean, there's been other weeks where we've had it up, but then something happened where we didn't get to it, or we got down, or you know, it just wasn't the right time.
What makes them good at that?
I think it just makes it very difficult for the defense. You know, the number count is a little off for him, and he's aggressive when he runs, and he's downhill, and it's like you got guys moving all over the place because they're trying to make sure that they handle Drake, you know, with the way they're running that zone read stuff, and so guys kind of get out of position. Then he hits it so hard, and the angles are poor for the guys trying to tackle, and he just runs through arm tackles.
Any rhyme or reason to why you guys struggled to run the ball yesterday, or was it just the defensive line of Bill's?
I think their defensive line did a good job. You know, I think there was some good opportunities for us in a couple of the plays that we had called, and you know, we just didn't finish the right way. You know, we fell off a block late, and they just got a hand on whether it be Frank or Drake's foot or Kalen's. You know, we just didn't maximize the yardage that possibly could have had on a couple of the runs.
Overall, Kenny was able to take advantage of his opportunities, and Devontae as well. How important were those two guys for you guys yesterday?
No, it was good. It was good to finally get Devontae in the end zone. You know, I feel like we've had some stuff, you know, some plays for him, and we just haven't either got him called or it was the wrong coverage when we called him. And same thing with Kenny. It was, you know, kind of get him going. You know, it was good that we could finally throw him the ball, and he didn't have to do it himself. So, you know.
What did you see on tape of that final play to Clay, and how was he able to get as open as he did?
Once the quarterback, the longer the play extends, the harder it is for everybody because everybody's trying to kind of see where he's going, and we're in his zone. The guys start moving around, and he kind of shook free, and I think we just lost him. And when I saw that ball go up, and then I turned around and saw who it was, I started thinking about what I was calling in 2 minutes, because that's a rare thing to see.
What's your take on the standings today?
We got a long ways to go. I know that.
What led to the Brandon Bolden carry? Something you saw last week? Or?
I've been waiting for a while to get Brandon involved. You know, he knows what we're doing, and the thing I've always liked about Brandon offensively is he runs hard. You know, I mean, he was a good running back when he came out of college. They used him a lot in New England early in his career, and you know, he had been so special teams oriented the last few years in New England. They were pretty deep at that spot. You know, so are we. You know, we got some pretty good players that are playing a lot, and you know, we haven't had a ton of plays, so it's hard to get all those guys touches, and just felt like it was the right timing for us.
Who do you want to rely on offense? I know you have a bunch of different options, but who do you want to be your guys?
I mean, I like all our guys that are our skill guys. I think they do a lot of good stuff. I mean, I think you look explosive-wise, you look at the way that, you know, Drake is and Caleb, Kenny, Devontae. I mean, those guys are guys that can create explosive plays, and you know, I think you just need that mix of that and consistency, and who are the guys that can grind out the yards for you. It's hard to say there's one guy you want to do that with.
Have you gotten the level of production that you want out of the tight end position?
I think there's some things that we've done better than what we were doing earlier in the year, especially run blocking and the pass protection stuff, passing game wise. There's been times when we've been open, we haven't got them, or we get some kind of protection issue. There's been times where I wish we could get open faster. I mean, we've kind of moved directions due to who we have available. I mean, it's really not fair to them to say, especially early in the year, it was, hard to get everybody the ball when you had Albert, Jakeem, Dan. I mean, you just got a lot of people you're trying to get the ball to. And, I think Mike's pretty much on pace with the rest of the rookie tight ends around the league. If you look at all their numbers, I mean, they're all the same. They're 18, 19, 20 catches. I mean, that's what that position's tough to kind of be impactful right out the gate and be great at everything because they do so much. There's just a lot of information. It's probably the next hardest position to play next to quarterback.
In your mind, is Xavier Howard playing at a Pro Bowl level?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's pretty good.
With New England, how much of this is a rematch and how much of it is a completely different kind of test because your team's so different now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different game. At this point, us playing so far apart. Last year, I think it was basically one game in between when we played them. So they're different, we're different. We're both trying to do the same thing, figure out a way to win one game. So that's really what it comes down to.
How have you held up, you think, at tackle, obviously losing Vincent, bringing in Williams and Hood, to complement Akeem and Godshot?
Well, I think those guys have done a good job learning, our system and coming in and trying to help us the best way they can and be effective, whether it be the run game or, pass rush. I think they've done a good job of moving guys around. You see Branch and Charles doing a lot of different type of things, and that's the thing. Matt's just going to keep trying to find ways with who's available to him, trying to find ways to be disruptive, whether it be in the pass rush or run game. I mean, it's when you have issues early in the season where you're trying to figure out what's going on and then how to fix it. You start trying to maybe tweak some things here and there, and we've done some different stuff to try to help us and stop the bleeding in the run game. Which we had. I hate to say that we had good success against the actual run game when they were handing the ball off to the running back. It was just being able to contain the quarterback yesterday.
How did Ryan get through the game? I know he got hit pretty good early.
Yeah, I mean, he's as tough as they come.
How optimistic might you be regarding Amendola and Swanson for this week?
Yeah, we'll see how the week goes. Hopefully, by Thursday, we can get a gauge. Both those guys, they want to be out there. They want to be able to help us. I'm sure Danny's going to want to do everything he can to be ready to go. I don't know how realistic anything is until Thursday, maybe even Friday.
How difficult has that been in terms of building an offense or coming up with a game plan when you have to go into a game with Bryce Butler, who's been here for 2 weeks as your starting receiver, and figuring out what works at slot?
I think it's just more when you get a new guy, you're trying to figure out, you watch as much film as you can. With Bryce, the good thing is he's played a lot of football. So at least go back, watch his targets, watch maybe a game or two to say, okay, here's what he does well, here's what we can emphasize with him, how fast can he learn the whole offense, which he's done a phenomenal job with that, which that helps us because now he's played two different positions. We've been able to move some guys around, and we can go out there, and Ryan's not just telling him what to do. He knows what to do, which is great. And just keep trying to get him to the point where he can play fast, and he fits in with those other guys. They do a great job working together, and the chemistry with that group has come together pretty quick, which is good to see because I think that's rare to get a guy in that fast. I think it gets a little hard when really our body types have changed because you had Albert and Jakeem, which we kind of were using in a different way, but now we're taller guys. We're everybody's a tall, fast guy now. So we've kind of lost that element of different body types. Everybody's kind of the same right now, but that's where we're at. There's nothing, we can't go back in time and change that right now. So we just got to kind of use those guys to, use their strengths to our advantage.
One question out of left field. I don't know how well you know Mike McCarthy. Any reaction? Were you surprised at that news yesterday?
I mean, anytime anything happens mid-season, you're surprised. But, you know, that's the NFL.
Alright guys, you've reached the end of my video. This is the end of the interviews. I hope you enjoyed those. I hope you enjoyed my show. Also, as a whole, if you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Make sure you hit the like button. And please share your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. I love interacting with you guys. It's for you. This is for you. You know, and also follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. It's on the end screen. My Twitter handle is on the end screen if you need to know it. And with that, guys, I'm out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.